Okay, now ladies. Okay, now ladies. Yeah. Alright, here we go. Getting into the book of Esther. And for my ladies and gentlemen, but mostly my ladies, this book really lights a fire in you. So we take it as needed. We take it pretty sensitively, I would say. The last time I read the book of Esther, it's fairly short, and it was during a class where we had the assignment to, I think it was write either about Ruth or Esther, one of the female titled books in the Bible. And I did so, and it was also amidst a very tumultuous and unexpected time in my life, and it caused a lot of issues with inside. I wouldn't say the book itself. I would say I was going through a lot of issues during that time. And this book really brought out a lot of emotion in me last time. So that was the last time I read this book. And now we're going to read it again on kind of a clean slate. But as I mentioned, we're going through an equally tumultuous time. I shouldn't say equally, another tumultuous time. So, it could be a little bit of a sensitive topic, I would say. But the book of Esther, it's interesting. I remember bits and pieces, and we'll see how it is perceived reading it here today. It's very interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look. We remember talking about King Xerxes. Let me make sure I'm saying it right. Doesn't matter too much, but Xerxes. This king, as we know, he was trans-Euphrates. I did attach the link about the order of the Persian kings. So we know who this is because we talked about him in Nehemiah. We talked about him in Ezra. So we are aware of, this king existing. So now we're going to learn a little bit about his character, and we are going to learn about his consorts, and we are going to learn about his queens. And let's see what this narrative has in store. To go ahead and the quote, "Riches are for spending," by Francis Bacon. All right, riches are for spending. Well, obviously, okay, so when we think of riches, right, we think of an excess of something, really money, treasures, things like that. Riches are for spending. Money is for spending. Excess money is for spending. And what does it mean to spend? I mean, there was a few definitions, but the one that most closely aligns with this quote and what we're talking about here is to exhaust or to use up all of it, of whatever you are spending, to use it all up or to exhaust. That's what we're thinking when we say spent or spending. When I feel spent, sometimes we feel spent, we feel exhausted, we feel used all up. So this is like this in this context, right? To be exhausted, to be used all up. We could argue that Xerxes' queen feels exhausted, she feels spent. And certainly King Xerxes' riches feel exhausted, they feel used all up, or they're being used all up. But it seems like he's never reaching the bottom of his riches. Okay, this was the wealth of King Xerxes. Let's go ahead and get started here with chapter 1. It says here, this is what happened during the time of Xerxes. The Xerxes who ruled over 127 provinces stretching from India to Cush. Alright, so giving you a little bit of a picture of his power, of his rule, from India all the way to Africa, 127 different provinces. So we thought the kings of Israel and Judah were great, alright? This king of Persia, Trans-Euphrates, Babylon, however you want to name his general place of habitation or his location, okay, he was also a ruler from India to Cush. And this was actually a nice part to read because we kind of, where is India during this time? We know India is a flourishing nation. We know Asia, China, all those regions are flourishing nations. So we're kind of wondering, where is their role within the Bible? And things are going on, to say the very least. Things are going on, but the Bible, especially the Old Testament, really focuses on Israel and Judah, practically the whole Bible, okay? Just really focusing on these Israelites. So we kind of neglect to talk about these other nations. But whenever there's an Israelite involved, we'll go ahead and talk about whoever they're involved with, which is why we're discussing again King Xerxes. But he's not an Israelite, but he comes to no one, as we will soon learn. And Cush, as we remember, is also African region, Egyptian region, okay? So for a full 180 days, he displayed the vast wealth of his kingdom and the splendor and glory of his majesty. Wine was served in goblets of gold, each one from the other, and the royal wine was abundant, in keeping with the king's wealth, right? He had wine that never stopped flowing. Everybody had been ordered to drink as much as they want and as much as they can. So also there's a lot of drunkenness involved with that. Now we have his Queen Vashti, who also gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of King Xerxes. All right. So imagine just the wine keeping flowing, and for having this banquet for weeks on end. You can imagine, right, the women of the palace may be feeling a need to have some sort of separation from the drunken madness that is taking place among the king and his consorts and his men and his people. Because not only did Xerxes serve just his court, right, it was actually anybody and everybody in the townships that surrounded him would come and celebrate. He wasn't just pertaining to this wasn't pertaining to just the nobles or just the high people. No, this was anybody and everybody, villagers, anybody can come and enjoy on this splendor. So Queen Vashti, as we could imagine, needs a bit of a break from this, okay? She has a banquet for the women where they could be a little bit more put together and cool, okay? Calm down. But on the 7th day, when King Xerxes was in high spirits from wine, he commanded the 7 eunuchs who served him, Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zethar and Karkas, to bring him Queen Vashti, wearing her royal crown, in order to display her beauty to the people and nobles, for she was lovely to look at. All right, so at this moment, right, King Xerxes is calling Vashti to come and join them, right? Wear your beautiful crown. I want to show you off. I want to display you. Imagine too, all the individuals of the king's banquet are drunk, completely drunk, including Xerxes himself. And she did not want to subject herself to whatever was going on in the next room or the next hall over, okay? She was not about to come and experience that, okay? So she said no. She said, I won't come, I'm fine right here, as a queen should, right? Having her rights. She has a right as the queen to go ahead and say no. So she did. And the people, right, or really the king, the eunuchs, they reported back to the king. They said, she's not coming. All right. And then the king's consorts, his closest advisors, come and whisper in his ear. And we all know when this takes place, it's, to stir trouble, right? When you have people telling you, how you should act and how you should react to a situation like this. If it was the king on his own, right, he may have some sort of just an inkling of compassion for the situation. But when you have the people around you telling you how you should feel and how you should act, it becomes a problem, okay? So they're saying to him, for the queen's conduct will become known to all the women, and so they will despise their husbands and say, King Xerxes commanded the Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she would not come. So they also suggest, therefore, if it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree, and let it be written in the laws of Persia and Media, which cannot be repealed, that Vashti is to never again enter the presence of King Xerxes. Also, let the king give her royal position to someone else who is better than she. Then, when the king's edict is proclaimed throughout his vast realm, all the women will respect their husbands from the least to the greatest. Okay, now, ladies. Is this how it goes? Is this how it goes? Is this how we become inspired and willing to respect our husbands if they are harsh and what have you? However, this thing, men's brains, I'll tell you what, you guys, like, this is a great example, but they really did think, because of this harsh edict, that it would place a fear in the women's hearts, that they would be rejected and neglected if they did not listen to their husbands. But Queen Vashti knew that that was not the case. Okay, she held her ground, and then when the king said, okay, you are never to enter my sight again, essentially, she's like, good riddance. She's like, thank goodness. You know, she was unaffected by this, to say the very least. Completely unaffected. She's like, yep, go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead. And that's really the situation. Okay. So, but King Xerxes was upset, okay, because it wasn't the actual action of her saying no. If it was just him, right, he would have a bit of understanding and a bit of compassion, but it was his embarrassment that overtook him, right? The fact that she said no in front of everybody else. It's that embarrassment that caused this great fury inside of him. But much later, okay, because they upheld this decree per the great advice of the council, much later, when King Xerxes' fury had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what he had decreed about her. Oh, somebody misses somebody. Then the king's personal attendants proposed, let a search be made for beautiful young virgins for the king. So somebody's getting a little sad and a little heartbroken that he neglected his queen, and that his queen wouldn't listen to him, and he's getting a little sad and a little heartbroken. Okay. Sorry for the dramatics, but this was really the emotion that was going on. So we have the attendants saying, we'll find you someone better. As stated, as we decreed, we're going to find someone better. So they put out a search, essentially. It's like a search for all the young virgins. Now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin, named Mordecai, son of Jair, the son of Shimi, the son of Cush. All right, wow. Who had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, among those taken captive with Joachim, king of Judah. Mordecai had a cousin named Hadassah, who he had brought up because she had neither a father nor mother. This young woman, who was also known as Esther, had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Mordecai had taken her as his own daughter when her father and mother died. Okay, so we have Esther, who is truthfully named Hadassah, okay? And if you actually look up the meaning of Hadassah, it means myrtle tree. And I looked up, myrtle tree, just because out of curiosity, and it's this beautiful blossoming tree that you may have seen on the East Coast. I've seen them in the Northeast, in New York. They were actually all over my college campus, these myrtle trees. Absolutely beautiful flowering blossoms in the springtime. Pink. Very, very beautiful. But anyways, we are going to resume. They were beautiful. As I saw the tree, I'm like, what is a myrtle tree? I saw it, I'm like, oh, they're absolutely beautiful. But anyways, we have Esther. Enter Esther, okay? Now the king was attracted to Esther more than any of the other women, and she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he had set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. All right, so man, this is just it's just great, this book. But anyways, okay. So royal crown, make her queen instead of Vashti. Vashti, right, was also beautiful as stated, right? She was pleasing to look at, absolutely beautiful. So do you think she is bothered by this? Probably just a little bit, right? Probably slightly. But again, once you are queen, nobody can really take that away from you. And it's good to see that Vashti is not was not put to death or anything like that. At least I don't think. I didn't read anything like that, that she was put to death, but I could be forgetting something. But she's still around, okay? She's just like, okay, you know, enjoy Xerxes, right? It doesn't matter to me. But, you know, that's a bit hurtful of a situation, you know. But anyways, we have Esther coming in, and she is actually crowned the new queen, and she is crowned queen. So this is where we get the book of Esther, and we will see what happens from here. I know some drama takes place. I know there's a lot more to this story, so I'm looking forward to see what is coming up after this. Messages, what feelings do we get from this? It's, you know, we haven't gotten into the book of why it's in the Bible, but we can already see that there are some issues going on, some internal issues with this King Xerxes, and yes, he has a few vices, right? We talked a little bit about vices and how the good will bring out, or the prosperity doth discover vice, right? This is something like that, all right? He has a lot of prosperity, a lot of riches, but he has these issues that are just ongoing, just like his riches, just like his spending. All right. We are going to go ahead and pause, you guys. God bless you guys. I appreciate you listening. Very, very intense as we will begin to learn, and it's only going to get more crazy. I will tell you that from this book, and then after we're going into the book of Job, which is a bit more poetic, I would say, but it's also very intense and heavy in terms of content. So just prepare yourselves mentally, and God bless you guys. Have a good rest of your week. Bye.